Tonight, what I have to say, it's personal, it's emotional, and I apologise for that. On the 1st of April of this year, 1st of April of all days, I lost my father. He was a good age, he was 91, and it wasn't unexpected, but it was still a shock. It fell to me to say some words at his funeral, and it was hard to find those words. I had emotions of sadness and regret, but also joy, love and gratitude. So how best to sum up those feelings of joy, love and gratitude? And then I remembered a time, a special time, when Dad said to me, "Get your coat, we're going out." He didn't tell me where, but by the time we got to Perry Bar, I'd worked out that it was motorbikes. They came out of the gates, and then my jaws dropped. And my dad chose that time to tell me, in my ear, they've got no brakes. On the 16th of May, it was announced that Birmingham Speedway was to close down. It wasn't unexpected, but it was still a shock. I felt emotions of sadness and regret, but also memories of joy and gratitude. And this is what sport is, isn't it? It's not about winning or losing. That's just what happens. It's about the journey. It's about the community. It's about a shared history. The last 19 years following the Brummies has been a shared history of joy, despair, hope and fun. So thank you to everybody that's been involved at Birmingham Speedway, all the riders, all the managers, good and bad, and all that have shared that history with me. Owning Speedway.
Well done for getting through.
Whew, it was hard. That was hard.
Well done.
Yeah, so good evening, everybody, and welcome to the Speedway Tavern. How is everybody? I think that's probably going to be the chief topic of conversation this week. Another British club being lost to Speedway.
Yes, it doesn't come as a shock, as it's been sort of muted for, well, I think most people who've been in the know have known for at least 3-4 years that this was on the cards. It's not nice though when you see it in black and white, though, is it? So when it comes up on the. I mean, you've experienced this as well, so. A couple of years, yeah, obviously with that. I mean, I was obviously more of a shock because it just came
very quickly out of the blue, wasn't it?
Yeah. So, can you hear me all right, by the way?
Yeah.
Good.
Are you a bit low?
Bit low.
Sorry. Oh, God, sorry.
Sit up then.
Can't get this chair to go up, so no, it's but you know, obviously it's been a tough few years, hasn't it, for Birmingham, really, since COVID. COVID, I think, is not the stuffing out of the club, really. I mean,
really, yes, I think.
And you know, a multitude of promotions that have come and gone since Tony Moll decided to retire, and through no real lack of effort. It's just, you know, it just seems to have been the last 3 years of just this endless cycle of losing matches. Everything that could go wrong has gone wrong, but you know, you got to give people like Nigel Tolley the due. You know, Nigel Tolley's put a lot of money into Birmingham. Probably hasn't always made the right decisions. I think he'd be the first one to admit that himself.
I mean, a lot of the time he hasn't made the right decisions, I think, because he's been forced into not making the right decisions, having to team build later than everybody else.
Yeah.
Pretty much every single year that he's been involved, through no fault of his own, but because of this continual "are we running, are we not, are we running, are we not" situation.
Yeah, that's been another thing, isn't it? Every single season there's always been this cycle of are they going to be able to come back next season? And they've managed to do it every season up till this point. But I suppose that's difficult, really, when you're almost living hand to mouth, aren't you, as a club? And that's really been the biggest issue that the Birmingham have got. There might, I suppose, at the end of the season be a sense maybe of relief for Nigel Tolley, because you know he's probably would be the first one to admit that it's been very, very hard over the last few years. Running Birmingham Speedway. So,
I'd like to say something also about Lawrence Rogers, because he's had to take a lot of stick over the years. But without Lawrence Rogers, Birmingham would have died 3 or 4 years ago. And people tend to forget that or ignore it as a thing, you know. And it shouldn't be ignored, and it should be applauded.
No, there's been, as I say, there's been a lot of people that have done a lot of work behind the scenes. Tracy Smith as well, who's played a big part certainly over the last 3 years. They played a big part in trying to keep Birmingham running.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a lot of people that have put a lot of good work behind the scenes. Yourself included, obviously, as a flag marshal. So I know you've got to just stand there and just wave a flag in a few races. But
Someone's got to do it.
Somebody's got to do it. Yeah,
Somebody's got to do it.
Yeah. There was that year when I forgot that it was an Australian rider. It'll come to me eventually. Whose bike followed me across the centre green. That was an interesting one. There's pictures of it out there. He got the joint track record in that exact race that his bike followed me across, if I remember right. I just had a hernia operation as well, so it wasn't the best time for me to be running around. But other things that have been going on since last on air, we spoke about the Warsaw GP, have we not? I can't remember whether we did.
Yeah, we did briefly touch on it. Yeah, well, I've only seen bits of it, but not the best GP, to be honest. A great win, obviously, for Jack Holder.
Hold that thought to Phil Taylor, by the way. We will obviously be talking about that. Yeah.
Can I just say I did put this on the Facebook page a couple of weeks ago. I know Phil and Skippy are listening. Can I just say big thanks to them for looking after us when we were down at Plymouth the other week. Really, really enjoyed it. Really good meeting. Great win for Plymouth to come back from about 8 points behind against Edinburgh. And a nice little setup there. Very, very small track, but they built it up very well, and that sort of gives hopes to clubs like Birmingham, some hope that they can maybe start get something sometime in the future. I think it's going to be quite a while, unfortunately. Maybe build it up from scratch.
I think it's what I've been saying for how many years now. Tracks in fields. Yep. That's what we need. Tracks in fields, and there is plenty of land around the outskirts of Birmingham.
Yeah.
It's there if somebody's got the vision.
I was thinking as well. I bet the two of the guys were really, really happy on Saturday, because certainly when I was there, they neither of them made any secret of their dislike for Paul Pirates, and of course beat them on Saturday. So I'm sure they were both really, and everybody else at Plymouth was absolutely delighted with that one. But yeah, thoroughly enjoyed it, and certainly it's a place that I'll be looking to go again at some point in the near future.
Well, I'm going to be a bit of a nomad next year, so that's probably going to be somewhere I will check out as well. So we'll get on to a few of the it's a good win for we've got a new leader of the GPs, we should say. Which is good for the GP as a series.
It's early days.
Of course.
It is early days, and Bart Smilesy continues his record of never having won a Grand Prix in his home country's capital city. That's it's almost similar to Ty Wuffingen, isn't it? Never winning the British Grand Prix, so...
Absolutely. Phil Taylor said great win for Birmingham yesterday at Leicester. We will, I imagine, come to that very soon, because I couldn't believe the scores as they was coming through. I just couldn't believe it.
Well, Birmingham, to be fair, did very well at Leicester earlier in the season in the Cup. The damage had been done in the first leg with a heavy defeat at Perry Bar, but that should hopefully give everybody at the club a bit of a lift, and to try and get through. It's going to be a tall order. I think there's no chance really of making the top four now. But just to try and sort of finish the season finish the Perry Bar era like of Birmingham Speedway with a bit of a high, I think. So
it would be nice, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
I think it's a shame that the match against King's Lynn was called off, because the guys would have been buzzing after that match.
I think they would have been, yeah. So,
but it was the right decision as it turned out. The rain came down hammer and tongue.
That's it. So,
can you go up a little bit for me? There was So Reginald Barker said, "Do you think Doyle's injury will affect Witch's title and cup ambitions?" It already is.
It is, yeah. I mean, there's a bit of a lot of people may be surprised Leicester went there and won. It just shows what a funny old sport it is. Leicester go to Ipswich and win, and then a few days later lose at home to Birmingham. So but I think Leicester probably went there at a good time.
And Simon Corbett says, was Doyle a bit silly trying to ride in Poland over the weekend to fall off again? Probably the silly bit is falling off.
Yeah.
I don't know, is the answer, because...
Well, I think with Jason Doyle as well, he's not getting any younger, is he? So he's, your bones don't tend to heal as...
This is true. Heard some rumours, this is from Craig Smee, that Arena Essex are coming back in 2026 as Google, who own the land, are not building on it anymore. Also heard a strong rumour about Cradley Heath securing a site and potentially coming back. Swindon have submitted planning permission for their ground off the motorway as well. That, I mean, all of that is, I don't know about the Arena Essex, but all
First I've heard of it.
all the rest of it I'm pretty sure is true. I know there's something going on with the Cradley Heath thing.
Yeah.
I don't know what, but I know there is something going on. And I think it might also be good news for Wolverhampton, but I don't know.
And we're keeping our fingers crossed as
Yeah.
well for Coventry, because that does seem to be getting
Yeah.
a little bit of momentum now as well.
So at least I might have a few clubs close by to go and check out and support the opposition, because that's obviously what you do, isn't it?
yeah, it's I suppose it's good in a sense, isn't it? If you go to a club, go to watch a meeting, and you sort of got no sort of affinity towards either club, you can sort of look at it as a bit of a neutral then, which is something I've had to get used to over the last couple of years. So
yeah. Nick Skippy Matthews, hopefully we will hold our lead at Poole tomorrow to knock Poole out of the cup. What do you think? Because you've been there.
it's going to be. I mean, it's an 8-point lead I think they've got, so it's even at Poole it's going to be tough. That's going to be a tough lead to defend.
Poole haven't had it completely their own way this year.
No, they haven't, to be honest. I mean, obviously, they lost at Berwick a couple of weeks ago as well. I was actually on the night I was at Plymouth, and that sort of got the crowd quite upbeat, I think, as well. To be fair, that's what you want, though, really, isn't it? Rivalry, and obviously both clubs on the coast. It's a bit of a local derby for like. There's quite a long distance between Plymouth and Poole, but
it's surprisingly long distance, isn't it? You think they're both sort of down the south, but
yeah,
I've done that trip.
Yeah, it's a long old trip. A long old trip from here to Plymouth.
Yeah, absolutely. Craig Smith says Coventry we should hear about soon as well.
I think that might well be resolved. Whatever work gets resolved before the end of this year, I think we'll know for certain whether it's going to come back.
That would be
or not. That would be massive for Speedway if we can get Brandon back running again.
Coventry would actually be nearer for me to go to than Perry Bar, believe it or not.
Yeah.
Although I live in Birmingham,
Yeah.
I'm just off the Coventry Road. So, Elliot Hunt, sorry, do we know who replaces Doyle in the Grand Prix on Saturday?
I'm not 100% sure. It will be the first reserve, but I'm not 100% sure who it is, to be honest.
We'll see if we can get our gremlins looking at that. And Rich Thomas says Swindon is 99% won't happen. Well, I hope that's wrong as well. But I've had mass misgivings about Swindon right from the moment that they announced that they were getting this new stadium. It was about 2012, I think it was, and yeah, I mean it's gone quick, hasn't it? That time
it has, yeah. So. And obviously, I believe an application's now gone in to build on the rest of Blunsdon Stadium. So, yeah, I think that's unfortunately. I think that was always on the. I think that was always going to be on the cards. Hopefully, we're wrong, and there is an opportunity of Swindon coming back. But it's going to be tough. I think it's going to be tough. It's going to be tough for anything. I mean, Oxford obviously offer and Workington as well. They offer a lot of hope to people about coming back. Particularly Oxford, of course, because they were out for quite a long time.
Yeah. Jeff Daniels says Kurtz has effectively got 3 home rounds in the GP, 2 at the NSS and Rocklaw. If he keeps his cool, could go close. Good point, actually. You picked Kurtz, I think, as an outsider at the beginning of the season, didn't you?
I certainly have, and that was before I'd sort of realised that 3 of the Grand Prix he's got on home soil. Yeah. NSS, he's going to be a force to be reckoned with around Bellevue and Rochlaw as well.
It's. But we all know Bartosz Szmajlik is a force to be reckoned with anywhere.
Absolutely, yes.
But it'd be nice to see a little bit more of a close.
It would be, yeah. It'd be nice if Szmajlik can win it, but he wins it with a brilliant pass on the last bend in the final heat of the season. That'd be brilliant, wouldn't it? So. Are you writing stories now? Yeah. Well, not nicer than winning it by about a country mile like he has done for the last few years.
Okay, so while we wait for a few more comments to come up, please keep them coming up, guys. Let's talk about. Let's talk about
Yeah,
Leicester versus Birmingham,
I believe
isn't
it will be Leon Madsen.
Leon
That is
Madsen.
the first.
Okay.
I think he's down as the first reserve.
That's not a bad. He's maybe got a point or two to prove.
He certainly will do. I think. Yeah. So he's. I think he had a good. He had a good go at it a couple of years ago, didn't he? He's never really kicked on from that. So.
Craig Smith says Kurtz was a good bet at 18-1 at the start of the season. Wish I'd put it on. Yeah,
If you put a bet on that, if you put that on, you might get quite a decent.
Yeah.
Potentially get a bit of little bit of cash from that. So.
Damn. So last night, yesterday afternoon, whenever it was, Birmingham went down to Leicester. I saw prediction after prediction of 20 points loss and 26 points loss, and somebody even said a 30-point loss to Birmingham. I wonder if that's true what Pete Clark said. Castagna is the Italian word for chestnut, apparently.
Yeah, he's done well. He's done well, to be fair, for Birmingham.
Do you know what? I had a feeling. I've always liked Paco, who I call Super Mario now, by the way. That's his new name, as far as I'm concerned. Yeah. And now he's had that new moustache. Thing I've always liked about Paco, I used to say this exactly the same about Daniel Hume as well, and Tom Bacon. He learns.
Yeah.
So when we first had Paco at Birmingham, he was good, but everybody made note of the fact that he never went out into the dirt. He was always tootling up the inside, getting great results from making good gates and tootling around the inside, but not using the dirt for passing or preventing people passing and all, the thing that we like to see in Speedway. But he does that now.
Yeah,
he does that. He's learned, and he did that in the first season. He started picking that up. Ashley Morris was on a walk with him round. They did the walk around the track at the beginning.
Yeah,
and they was out in the dirt, looking at the dirt, and Paco walked over, and Ashley says, "Careful, don't come over here, Paco. You'll get a nosebleed." But that's not the same. And he learns, and he's took to the Premier League pretty well, actually.
I thought he would do well at home. Certainly thought he'd do well at home, and anything that he does on the road, anything Birmingham would do on the road is a bonus. And obviously, a great win yesterday. As I say, it didn't come as a massive. Shouldn't have come as a massive surprise because Birmingham did so well there earlier in the season, didn't they? And it's a track that and it's. They haven't tended to do very well at anyway.
We've never had done well at Leicester.
Well, I've never done well against Leicester at home. If I mind at Leicester,
this is true. But you can't say. I think that the two big pluses for Birmingham, three if you count the fact that we actually won the damn thing, was Paco obviously, and the performance of Jonas Jepson.
Yeah.
Which was the sort of performance we was hoping for the week before at home, because he'd gone down to reserve, and we all thought, well, he's a tidy rider. Everybody's picked him as a good pin, a tidy rider, and as a reserve, hopefully he's going to get his confidence back. But he rode with no confidence at all. And then at Leicester, something happened, and bang, he was great. If anyone doesn't know, from Elliot Hunt, Birmingham versus Bellevue is now on TNT. That's next Monday's fixture. Yep. Hopefully we can get a good result. Absolutely. Fred Graham, big knockout cup quarter-final in Scotland this weekend. We, Glasgow, will miss the injured Dan Thompson. Absolutely. So guest choice will be very important, as the Monarchs have Palavara at reserve. Bring it on, and big crowds expected. Yeah, that's going to be.
It's always it's always a real grudge, isn't it, when those two sides meet? It's going to be a tough one to call. Obviously, we'll be making our predictions on that one a little bit later on. So,
Craig Smith says I was surprised Madsen was left out. So he will be well up for it.
He will be. Yes, maybe not necessarily. Obviously, with Anders Thompson in there. So, you thought Madsen might have got a bit of a. Might have got another call because of the performances in recent seasons. So,
turns out that Leicester was a bit of a dust bowl again, from all accounts. I wasn't there, but it seems I find it very difficult now to criticise other people's tracks and other people's track preparation because of the difficulty we've had over the last few years at Birmingham.
Yeah.
It's not a science, I think, track preparation. I think it's definitely an art. And I know how much work has gone into that track at Birmingham to put it right. And I think the last match actually was probably the best it had been for a good amount of time. So I think it's slowly going the right direction. Who knows, by the time we get to our last match, we might have the best track in the country.
Yeah.
Who knows?
And then it's got to be ripped up. So.
Yeah. We got a few. Is this YouTube we have here? Okay, so we've got a few things going on YouTube. Clive Woodier wants to know who's going to replace MJJ. Good question. I think we've got here the facility for one more week.
Yeah, I think it is.
And then we lose that RR. I mean, we've been covering him well with RR, I think. That's a great question. And I don't know. Who's available? We've got a lot of points to play with.
Yeah, I think anybody who's thinking of possibly getting Freddie Lindgren back is going to be a bit disappointed because I can't see Freddie coming back to racing. I can't see him coming back to racing in the UK at all, never mind, regardless of Birmingham or not. He made a big impression at Berry Bar last season, don't get me wrong, but I always thought he would do. But it's going to be that's going to be a key one if Birmingham are going to finish the season on a high. They need to get a good replacement, somebody who's going to be. Because we had this at the start of the season with Jepsen Jensen. There was all the stuff that was doing the rounds about he's only here until May. Nothing was sort of said to counter that, and then lo and behold, May arrives
only here till
and
May.
he's off. Yeah,
there is questions to be asked about that. I think, and you got if you're Nigel Tully, knowing that. You got this one season left. Are you going to try and get a big signing, go out with a banger, or are you going to go, what's the point? Save my money.
Well, with all due respect to Birmingham, they're not going to get in the top four. I think even with through 2 or 3 months left of the season, it's I think it's a no-go getting into the top four. I guess the other thing, if they get in the top four, is would they be able to stay at any park meetings at Perry Bar? Because I think that might. That's in my head as well, because September is, I think, when we've got it to.
Yeah. Darren Reynolds says, "Evening, guys. British Speedway is truly on borrowed time. Let the riders who ride in Poland go and rebuild all the clubs in the UK and conglomerate. Excuse me, I get my teeth in. The leagues riding Friday, Saturday, and Sundays." Okay, I can see what you're saying, and I think. If the Speedway carries on like it is, they will have to do something like that. But riding Friday, Saturday and Sundays, there are tracks that can't do that.
That's the big problem.
They just physically can't do that. And until Speedway in this country owns its own tracks, that's always going to be a problem. We're at other people's beck and call all the time. Your team, as we have found out, is only as viable as the length of your lease.
Yep. Many people are saying, well, Birmingham made a mistake going into the top league. Unfortunately, they didn't have a choice. It was top league or nothing because they were only given Mondays. There's an argument as to whether the BSPL should have given them a special disposition and say you can carry on riding on Wednesdays, or you have to ride on Monday, but you can stay in the lower league. But I suppose then you'd have had other clubs in the lower league saying, well, you're letting them do it, why can't we do it? So.
Yeah, it would have been a difficult one. It is a difficult one, but we bit the bullet and went into the Premier League.
Has it been the right? Has it been? I know it's been
the only decision that could have been made. Would it? The only other decision would have been to have packed up.
Yeah.
And some out there, with the pain that we've had since the last 3 years, including when we was in the Championship, some people might say, no, he should have packed up. I don't agree, because like I said, it's about the journey. It's not just about winning and losing. Those are the things that happen.
Unfortunately for Birmingham, the Championship era wasn't much better in terms of results, was it? The last season the Championship was a completely disaster. It was virtually every meeting lost by about 20 points. It was quite embarrassing.
Browne Book 2, is there two of them?
Yeah,
I'm afraid so.
I've heard there's two of them. Yeah,
Right. It will be a difficult task to find an adequate replacement for Jepson Jensen at this stage of the season. Few, if any, foreign riders will be interested in riding in Britain. I mean, there might be some that might consider it, being as it's only half a season, and
or even taking a punt on an unknown that wants to come over.
well, we might have to do that in the end. Who knows?
Like Kingston obviously did that with Jankovic, didn't he? And that worked for them, to be fair, because he's been a real revelation since and doing well in the Grand Prix as well. He's been pretty competitive.
Darren Reynolds again. We simply cannot keep the sport alive trying to placate Poland any longer. I don't think there's any argument in this room about that. Riding on Saturday afternoons would give clubs the chance to screen the GPs to fans in the stadiums after the match.
Lovely idea in theory, but
yeah, you have to own the stadium.
Yeah,
it's what I've been going on for yonks and yonks. The way forward is tracks in fields and then build them up the way that Leicester are doing it, the way that Workington are doing it, the way Somerset did it. I think that's the only way. I think was there still some more left on YouTube for me to go through before we get to this?
There's quite a few on here. I think there's some more appropriate ones first, and we'll go back to that one.
Simon Corbett, the MJJ situation, was he only contracted until May? Well, that's the suspicion.
Mm-hmm.
I can't confirm or say anything because nobody
is saying
anything.
Yeah.
So, which some may say is an admission by itself. I don't know. But Dylan Spuddy Hodgetts, evening chaps, first time tuning in this year, better late than
Where
never.
have you been, Dylan? Come on.
Where have you been? Bellevue had great amount of moisture in it yesterday, and surely no moisture in Manchester.
There's no need for that.
And very fast times and good racing. First time this season. I've not gone home with half of the track on me. Doesn't always rain in Manchester. Elliot Hunt, we only had 14-day facility, so actually it expires before Monday. Okay, so that's interesting. MJJ replacement won't be on the level of MJJ. Could see a rider like Connor Mountain getting the call up, as long as whoever it is keeps Jonas at reserve. I mean, that is important with the way he was riding the other day.
It should be a bonus, shouldn't it, having him at reserve, because I've been quite impressed with him this season. So
Dylan Spuddy Hodgett says, I think it may be worth applying for an extension to the facility. I mean, yes. Whether we'll get it, who knows. Good evening to Barry.
Yep, well, friend of the show, been on a few times.
Now here's the $64 million question, isn't it? Yeah. Nick Skippy Matthews, why did Birmingham get a 14-day facility, yet Edinburgh got a 28-day facility for a rider leaving?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I mean, it makes you... I mean, you can think of one reason, can't you? But... Brum aren't the only club leaving the Prem for next year. I don't see there being a top league next season, to be honest.
Yeah, well, I have heard all sorts of rumours about other clubs. It's probably best not to go into those on here.
I've heard about clubs. I've heard about one club in particular.
Yeah,
you would think, no, that's never going to happen.
Yeah, I've heard the same. If it's the same club that I've heard, then it wouldn't. Yeah.
I think you'll like the next one. You both should be promoters.
No, I can't afford it.
I don't think so.
Somebody once said, I can't remember who it was, is the best way to become a millionaire at in the Speedway is to start off as a billionaire.
Yeah.
And watch it slowly.
Yeah, exactly. Simon Corbett, Victor Palavara would be worth a go, but with the caveat he'd have to want to do it.
That's it. Yeah.
Yeah. Pete Clark says, when is Nick Morris available? Wow. No. Get back into your box, please.
I don't think there's much chance of Nick Morris coming back and racing at Birmingham again. So.
Before we go any further, I'd like to address something. So we had a few people, shall we say, moaning that we weren't on last week, because we did say the week before that we was going to be on.
Please blame me.
Look, well, no, let's not blame. So we do this because we love it. This is not a professional outfit, as you can probably tell.
Professional,
and we all have lives and things that get in the way. It's just the nature of the beast, but we will be here as often as we can.
Yeah, when we can be here, we'll be here.
Yeah, so it's...
We said that. I don't think we're here next week.
We are here next week.
We are here next
week.
The week
after I'm away then for 10 days.
So there you go.
We'll work around, if you can come in a different day.
Apologise for that. It just is what it is. Dylan Spuddy Hodgins says Nick Morris is available in July.
I don't think he'll be coming back to Birmingham, though. So.
I don't think he'll be coming. Will anybody take a punt on him in the British Speedway? I don't know. I mean, what he did was a naughty. He was a naughty boy.
Yeah,
he was a naughty boy.
Very naughty boy.
Yeah, a very naughty boy. Nobody died. I mean, the potential was that somebody could, because if you're riding with drugs, there is dangers associated with that, and I understand that. But
this is an interesting one from Fred Graham. The majority of the championship tracks own their own stadiums: Glasgow, Workington, Redcar, Oxford, and Plymouth. So British Speedway has to, as you say, has to look at doing this. Hopefully good news with Coventry, Arena and Swindon coming back and will own their stadiums.
I mean, this is what's needed. You can't... There is no security in riding at somebody else's stadium. There just is no security. You're as secure as the length of your lease.
Yeah.
Dylan Spuddy Hodgett's been busy with wheelbarrow racing. I think we need some explanation.
Thank you very much. Waving pieces of paper for me to sign going through the doors at Perry Bar.
I want the video.
Nick Skippy Matthews, does someone at the BSPL have their finger in the pie at Edinburgh, maybe?
Well, this is one of the things that we've said before, haven't we, that decisions are made by people in British Speedway and they don't explain them. It's almost like you can't do that. Why? Because we said so.
Yes.
So that's got to stop. I thought it had stopped, to be fair, but it seems to be starting to creep back in again.
I think there is possibly a difference between the Championship and Premiership in that, and that difference is possibly Phil Morris.
Well, he's been given some power, but I don't think he's been given. I think he does need to be given more power, to be honest.
I think he needs to. Not necessarily Phil, but somebody needs to have power over Speedway. Full stop. The whole setup. It's my personal opinion. Christopher Black says it because one rider was on a month-to-month deal, MJJ, and the other was on a full season deal. To do with the 14-day and 28-day facility. That's
could be a potentially one, yeah. If it was a month-by-month deal that Ipsen Jensen was on.
Dylan Spuddy Hodgett says Francis Gusts or Mitch McDiarmid would be worth a punt. I'm not going to replace them. Those riders are not going to come close to replacing what MJJ.
He was starting to get it together, wasn't he, a little bit as well?
He was our best rider.
Yeah. I mean, I don't think anybody's disputed he's a classy rider, but I don't think he's ever really hit the heights that people expected that he would do.
No.
When he first came onto the scene, everybody was raving about him as a potential, world champ, multiple Grand Prix winner. I think he's won one Grand Prix. I think that was the Danish Grand Prix.
Was that the one that he was the wild card at?
I think it might have been. Yeah, I can't remember what. I think it was 2015. I think it was. It was quite a while ago. I know that.
I mean, but things happen in a person's life that you don't see. That's
absolutely.
Christopher Black said, maybe it's the nature that one rider was on a full season deal, the other month to month, which is what has already been said earlier, and I think there's more coming. Let's have a look. How was the Craig Cook RR yesterday? But then he later does a live stream cycling up a mountain on the evening.
I had heard about that. Yeah.
That is the first. Wow, only
it can recover quite quick.
Dylan Spuddy Hodgett says people have come back from worse situations than Nick and been employed, to be honest. Nick will be back in a team spot if he wants to come back from the Aussie sun. Yeah.
Swap the sunshine in Australia for cold, wet Birmingham.
Well, it is cold and wet at the moment.
It's
horrible at the moment. It's horrible earlier. Throwing it down.
Christopher Black says Edinburgh tried to get him in the winter as there was rumour that his ban was being reduced. Yeah, I didn't hear that rumour. John Bird talking about Craig Cook. He turns up when he wants. He did that at Redcar for the championship pairs. Turned up with one bike, then pulled out of the meeting when he knew he wasn't going to win, and didn't complete his 5 rides. Lack of professionalism, in my opinion. Seems to get loads of olive branches from various clubs, and there's riders there without clubs wanting to ride Speedway.
This is the frustrating thing with Craig Cook, isn't it? Because we saw him at Perry Bar a few weeks ago. He was brilliant. Yeah, absolutely, yeah. And there's definitely a good rider in there when his head's right. I think that seems to have been the problem with Craig Cook, isn't it? He has had issues obviously away from speed. I don't think anybody's is under any illusions of that, but sometimes it's getting to a point where it gets people's backs up a little bit when he just skips meetings and he isn't really reliable. But he's a rider. I think I think he has to be in a good place really to get the best out of him. So
when he is in a good place, he's a good rider.
He is a good rider. Yeah.
Dylan Spuddy Hodgetts, no rider coming in will replace MJJ points wise. We won't get a top rider in. It'll be someone British based or already riding here.
Yeah.
Rasmus Jensen would be good if he fancied it. I think the truth of the matter is we'll get whatever we can get. It's it's as simple as that. I imagine they're ringing around everybody at the moment.
Yeah, I'm waiting for your phone to ring in a minute.
No, he's actually switched it off. The ultimate professional.
You won't get a team place then, will he? If Nigel's trying to phone him. So.
I think that 7-day racing ban is that.
That's for Craig Cook's got a 7-day racing ban for missing last week.
I thought it was on about us.
No. Mick Sutton, it's good having you on from Mick. Look forward to a Tuesday night.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. How about Jakob Thorsell? Jakob Thorsell would be brilliant. I'd quite like.
Quite a few years since Jakob last ride over here.
The same was said of MJJ, of course. Yeah. So I think.
Yeah. And he's done okay, he obviously he was very popular obviously when he rode for Wolves, but had a bad injury I think start of 2019, and he came back and he never really managed to hit back the heights that he had before. But there's no doubt he's a talented rider. He's probably very reliant on his starting, but he's the sort of guy that could there's no reason why he couldn't come back and race in Britain again and do a decent job for a side.
Fred Graham, what about Birmingham asking Nicky Pedersen for a farewell to British Speedway, and would Defo put bums on seats? Now here's the thing,
and bums on the first bend probably as well.
I mean he would. I mean I don't think he's riding now. Is he riding still? Is he still riding?
I think he's still riding in lower league in Poland. I think he is. Okay. I don't see Nicky coming back and racing in the UK again. Obviously he came back for Peterborough and he did one corner, didn't he?
Yeah. So no, he's not my sort of rider in the way that he goes about his business. However, if Nicky's at the track, I want to watch it.
Yeah,
if he comes to visit, that's definitely a match I'm going to go and see. It's so okay. So your heroes in your sport are really important to you, but what people don't realise. So my big hero in F1 used to be Nigel Mansell, because I am of that age, and my big villain that I used to really, really not like was Ayrton Senna.
Yep.
Believe it or not, because I felt he put himself about a little bit too much, and
only really with one man, to be fair, didn't he? That was Prost.
He did it a couple of times with Nigel as well, but yeah.
Prost particularly.
But it did not make it the sport better. And when he died and left, I felt it. Really, I thought, oh well, who am I going to boo now?
Yep.
It's so.
And then Michael Schumacher came on the scene. So
the villains are just as important for putting bums on seats as your heroes, and I don't think we have that.
I've said before, the Grand Prix misses having a pantomime villain, doesn't it?
We don't have that in British Speedway, particularly. Yeah. I mean, Craig Cook possibly fills it a little bit, but for the wrong reasons.
Yeah. But, I mean, Nicky sort of revelled in, but I mean, Nicky was one of those, he's always been one of those riders, even when he was in his prime, to survive for that long at the top and not really giving two hoots what people thought about him. I don't think he used to bother him at all when he got booed. In fairness,
he was all about playing the mind games, wasn't he?
Yeah.
He was getting under people's skin.
Yeah.
He was quite clever with it, I think.
He probably did push the limits a little bit on occasions.
Yeah,
particularly with Greg Hancock,
yes.
and one or two other riders. So
I don't think Ty Woffington was particularly in love with him, shall we say?
Yeah, I think in fairness to Ty, there was that. I don't think the fear factor that Nicky had was probably quite as strong when Ty started coming on to the fore. I think a lot of those riders weren't really intimidated by him in the way that a few other riders back when Nicky was in his prime were.
Yep. Craig Cook was 24 hours from joining Browne. Oxford just got him in first, said Dylan Spuddy Hodgetts. It doesn't surprise me. Do I wish that we'd signed him now? I mean, we might not have had Paco if we had. So, and Paco's just been. Paco's just Paco. Paco's.
The Birmingham fans are. Birmingham is a club that I think the fans need a rider that they can really relate to, because they haven't really had. I think probably the last rider you could say that was an absolute hero of the Birmingham fans' university was probably Jason Lyons. I mean, that's going back to when Birmingham first came back. I don't think the club have ever really replaced him.
No.
I don't know what your thoughts on that? Because he was one of those riders, especially if you missed the start, you'd be rubbing your hands together.
You'd hear the crowd go, "Oh, this is going to be good."
Yeah.
Literally, you could feel and 9 times out of 10 it was. It was nice to see.
It'd be great, I think, if the club could get Jason to come back, I suppose, before the end of the season.
Wouldn't it?
Obviously,
wouldn't it?
Obviously, he's not riding, of course.
It was nice to see, actually, on Facebook. There was a few when it was announced. There was a few riders.
Phil Hearn was one of them.
Phil Hearn was one of them. Jason Lyons was another one that came on it and said some really positive things about the track. I thought, you ain't rode it lately.
Yeah.
So that was nice to see. We should ask Nicky to ride as a guest for the last meeting, said Fred Graham. The last meeting's going to be interesting. I wonder what it will be.
I suspect it's going to be the Alan Graham Memorial meeting.
I hope so. It keeps getting rained off, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Dylan Spuddy Hodgetts, Steve Worrell would be good if he wanted it. He does ride Birmingham well, but he doesn't want Premier Racing, but always a chance that may change as he gets the bug back at Scunny.
Possibility, yeah.
And somebody rides Ribnig in the top league, but we don't know who.
Yeah, Nicky.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. John Bird, when is Nick Maris's ban up? We think it's July, from what somebody has said. Perfect selection for Burmese. Also, Steve Worrell could fit in. I don't think it would be a good move to have Nick Morris in, because I don't think the supporters would particularly like that.
No, I think that did become a bit of a problem, because his form for Birmingham wasn't great, was it?
No, it wasn't.
Really, it was not really disappointing, because I thought it was a great signing when Birmingham got him. It just didn't really work out. Pedersen's
just pulled out of the Swedish league. I'm going to need some new teeth this week. Apparently, it's too much for him, I presume.
Well, I'm thinking now. I mean, he's got to be. He's got to be far off 50 now. I think he's about 48 now. So he's remarkable that he's still riding to a decent enough level at the top in Poland at that age.
Yeah.
I think that's. I'm trying to remember. I think Greg Hancock was 47 when he finally. So he might have been 48.
40.
Yeah, so he's not far off getting that. Getting into that, really.
Dylan Spudgy.
You need to get those teeth sorted.
Yeah, I really do. Dylan Spuddy Hodgetts. Freddie is becoming the villain in some people's minds.
Not to the same level, I don't think.
Okay.
I think the thing with the big difference, I think, with Freddie is that he's Freddie dishes it out, but he doesn't throw his toys at the pram. If somebody does it back to him, he just takes it on the chin, doesn't he? Whereas with Nicky, it was the other way around, wasn't it? So he'd.
Yeah. Dylan Spuddy Hodgetts says, at a push, maybe Ben Barker could be worth a shot, but at a long stretch.
I was talking to the guys down at Plymouth, and they seem to have an opinion that Ben Barker's going to stop at the end of this season anyway. So
it wouldn't surprise me.
He's had a few big.
I think he's well past his. I mean, he was great when he was at Birmingham. Him and Danny King were a formidable partnership.
Still fairly popular at Birmingham as well, to be fair. I think with a lot of people, even beyond the scenes at the club. So
I think that I can think of at least one person behind the scenes at Birmingham that wouldn't have Ben Parker back for love nor money. So, Phil Taylor didn't like the way the SGP2 qualifier at Glasgow was decided last week, with a few riders finishing on 6 points, and the qualifiers were decided by a ballot. Now, it was rained off with riders completing 3 races each, but surely there is a better way than Seymour.
Thank you.
There is a better way than drawing lots or on a ballot.
Well, it depends on whether there's anything in the rule book to quite cater for, doesn't it? Because you do often get the impression with Speedway that it makes up as it goes along, doesn't it? So,
and sometimes doesn't make it up.
Yeah.
Can I quickly say, can people get their riders of the week in, please?
We'll have to get on to our prediction leg as well, because we've only got 15 minutes left.
Good
busy.
God, that's gone really quick.
Oh, that's mad, isn't it? I'll just read this last one out and we'll get on. Always seems to be the polls that have the look in these ballots. Strange that.
Let's not make any suggestions like that.
Yes. Other opinions are available.
Of course. Yes.
Okay, so where are we going to now?
We're going to go to
Prediction League, I think.
Prediction League, yeah.
We've got a few meetings this week, so we'll get
just to get the ball rolling, I'll start with the rider of the week. For me, it's going to be Packer. There you go.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll say Jonas Jeppersen.
That would have been my other choice. Yeah. Okay then. So, Prediction League. Where are we? Where do we stand?
Oh, okay. Do you want to have a look at this one first?
There we go. So we have got a clear leader now. And his name is not Corbett, funnily enough.
What the hell is going on there?
Who's in? Good God, in second place.
Yep.
Well,
no, that's not me. That's
no, I know who that is.
That's another member of the family. So
yeah, I got that.
Matt's in fourth though.
Yep.
And you and me just can't seem to get separated.
No, but I'm pulling away from you a bit.
Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah.
Well,
expecting you to go into the next bend and tangle machines and then go to the fence.
Did anybody, as a matter of interest, predict Birmingham beating Leicester?
No, but one person did predict Leicester to beat Ipswich last Thursday.
Where?
So,
who was that?
And that was Jeff Daniels, who went for a 2-point win for Leicester.
Where? Well done.
Just look at the top there. See me up.
Well, second.
Second. Yeah, it's top.
Is that for this last week?
Yeah, it's top-ish.
Yeah. And you're 17th. So.
Yeah.
There you go. For somebody who knows Zutch, I don't think that's
your
too
choosing's not great. Okay.
Oh dear. All right.
We've had a few more riders of the week.
Luke Harrison, Simon's gone for. Craig Smith's gone for Zach Cook.
And a lot of riders are pulling out of the Swedish league.
I think there's problems in Sweden, to be honest. It certainly isn't anywhere near the level that it used to be. So.
No.
Anyway, so let's get on with the fixtures then. So first of all, we'll start off with tomorrow's meeting in the Championship, Oxford against Scunthorpe.
I think it's you to start, isn't it?
I'll go Oxford by 6, sorry.
Chris?
Oxford by 12.
Well, that's quite a jump. I'll go Oxford by 8.
Okay. Next up, the quarter-final second leg, Poole against Plymouth, and Plymouth holding that 8-point lead from Saturday's first leg.
It's up to you, Chris.
Sorry, can you just say that again? I'm multitasking.
Poole versus Plymouth.
I'll go for Poole by 10.
Ooh, that'd be good, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
Right. In the sort of spirit of that, I'm going to say Poole by 8.
No, I'm going to upset my new mates down at Plymouth. I'm going to go for Poole by 12.
Okay.
That means I'm not going to be allowed back in there again if I go next year. So. But definitely, if you get a chance to go down there, it's definitely worth a visit. Definitely worth a visit. Next up in the Championship on Friday, it is Redcar against Oxford.
It's up to me, isn't it? I'm going to say Redcar by 10.
Draw.
He's thinking hard. Well, have you turned into me?
I'll go Redcar by 4.
Okay. So next up in the quarter-final first leg of the Knockout Cup, Edinburgh against Glasgow.
Ooh, Matt, up to you.
I'll go.
Who are you going to upset?
I'll go for Edinburgh by 4.
Edinburgh by 6.
Glasgow really started to
turn the screw up
a little bit just recently. I'm sorry, Edinburgh. I'm going to say Glasgow by 2.
Okay, just to point out as well, this fixture wasn't on the fixture list that we posted on Saturday, because it was only a provisional fixture at that stage. So obviously, if you want to put your prediction on for that one, if you haven't already, the second leg is the following day at Glasgow against Edinburgh.
That's up to you, Chris.
It's who? Sorry,
Glasgow versus Edinburgh.
oh, did I'll go Glasgow by 6.
Glasgow by 10.
Glasgow by 12. That would put Glasgow through. Okay, so next up, we won't do the British Youth Championships. That's at Leicester, but good luck to everybody taking part in that one.
Absolutely.
And also on Sunday, you've got Kent against Thurrock Hammers Select, so a good opportunity for some of the Arena Essex or Lakeside fans to see their team in action again in the challenge match.
I don't actually know who they've got in the Hammers team, so it's going to be a complete guess by me.
Yeah, that's right. Well, it's going to be a bona fide team, isn't it? So, okay, so next up on our prediction charts is Bellevue against Oxford. That's in the NDL.
Bellevue versus Oxford. Bellevue by, I'm going to say 10 again. I'm stuck on 10.
Okay.
Up to you, Matt.
Bellevue by 14.
I'll go in.
Okay. Also got another British Youth Championship. That's the 125cc's. That's at Bellevue on Sunday as well. So good luck to everybody taking part in that. Leicester against Sheffield on Monday in the semi-final of the Knockout Cup is your next one.
Well, that's up to you.
I'll say Sheffield by 4.
By 6.
I mean, this is a hard one to pick now,
Yeah, it
given
is now, yeah.
what's happened. I mean, Leicester going to really want to hit back, aren't they?
Yeah, they're going to want to bounce back after that disappointing result yesterday.
So I'm going to go draw.
Okay. The other semi-final, the first leg taking place, is also on Monday. That's Kings Lynn against Ipswich.
Kings Lynn by 12.
Did you say that?
Yeah. I'm going to go for Kings Lynn as well.
Okay.
Kings
Yeah,
Lynn by
but for
4.
12. Oh, do you know what? I'm going to go for draw.
Okay. And last but by no means least, Birmingham against Bellevue. That's
Did you
in
get,
the
what was your
Premiership.
Kings Lynn?
I went for Kings Lynn by 4.
Oh, right, okay. So what's the next one?
Okay, so this is a really difficult one to call now because we don't know what the MJJ situation's going to be and whether we get a facility. We asked for it.
Yeah. I think Birmingham's first home win last season was the televised match against Bellevue, so that's, ironically, of course, that's televised as well. So,
but I have renewed hope, and because I can't be doing this next year, predicting Birmingham, that is, we'll still be here, by the way.
that's what quite a few people at Plymouth asked me that. Are we still going to be running next year if Birmingham aren't running? But the plan is yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, God, yeah.
Birmingham by 4. Not knowing the team, but Matt.
I'm going to go Bellevue by 4. Right.
I'd probably take that, to be honest.
Yeah.
I'll go Bellevue by 6.
Okay.
Okay, and that's it.
Well done.
Oh, that was
Can
quick.
I just say, Ride of the Week this week is leading by, and you've got 5 more minutes. Paco.
Okay.
do you want to scroll back up? There's a few bits and pieces that
We can go to that one first.
Nick Skippy Matthews says, I've gone Paul by 14, so you'll be welcome back at Plymouth.
Good.
Yeah. UK Speedway Tavern that was you. Okay.
Yeah.
Fred Graham, I was at Ashfield on Saturday and took them well over an hour to decide on ballot, which is in the rule book as 4 riders all tied on 6 points and all scored a win, a second and a third. Just weird that the poll was drawn out in the ballot.
Malice, you mean Ballas? You said Malice, I think. Well, that might be my hearing not been great.
Sorry, I'm just reading this. Dylan Spuddy Hodgetts with Denmark being off for Clint. He now rides for Plymouth instead of their guest of Bomber. Okay.
And I think we're there. From that one.
Yeah.
Hello.
Hello,
Adam.
says Adam Crane. Hello. Well,
And did we do that one?
he's asking for
Yes,
Zach
I've got
Cooker's
that one.
Rider of the Week. He didn't
Nick's
mention
gone
that.
for Joe Thompson as the Rider of the Week.
Yeah,
So.
I've got them all written down, so yeah, that's fantastic.
Simon Corbett reckons Quebecs will be at reserve in June.
It's going to be strong for
That's
Kings,
it, isn't it?
Kings Lynn, yeah.
Ooh.
They're always going to have a strong reserve, aren't they, Kings Lynn? So that would have been. I mean, Birmingham would have been on a high, but that would have been a tricky match against Kings
It would
Lynn.
have, but it would have been the right time to have met them,
Yeah.
given what happened at Leicester.
Yeah.
But
And I'll just read this couple on YouTube. Birmingham should be able to have R&R for the rest of the season. White City 1977. That probably means something more to you than me.
Okay, I don't think we'll get RR for the rest of the season.
No, I'm very
I
surprised
think
by that.
I wouldn't. It wouldn't surprise me if they managed to extend it by another 14 days.
Yeah.
It wouldn't surprise me.
I think we talked about this last week, I'm not sure, or last time. Is it possible both Browne and Wolves promoters could pool their resources in a track share in the future?
The resources at the moment are zero as far as having a track is concerned. It depends on where it was.
I know from interviews that Van Stratton's done that he hasn't ruled it out. The possibility of sharing with another club. Ideally, of course, you'd love it to be, several each club having their own track, but that may not be possible. It's certainly in the immediate future. So
Yeah. I mean, it's. I think it's something that Birmingham fans wouldn't say no to.
Yeah.
We just have to wait and see. Pete Clark, I've got to give a big shout out to Pete. Pete is sort of the gaffer of the volunteers down at Birmingham, and he's there every Sunday doing work with all the volunteers. And at Monday after he doesn't get home until well after. I think it was 2:00 last time in the morning, and he has to go. He still goes to work. This guy, not like me being retired now. And he's just said, just remember. We laid all the sheets on the drag track Sunday, only to be told to remove them again straight away. We were gutted. I feel for you, mate. I really do. Yeah.
I know we've done it a few times, but I suppose a big shout out to everybody who works on all tracks.
Yeah, absolutely.
Should go out, really. Yeah.
All volunteers as well. None of them are paid. So.
And,
Speedway would be without the volunteers, that's for sure.
is that something that's always happened? Has it always
I don't
been
think so.
volunteer?
No, I think that in previous years, I don't know about your experience, but I know back in the 70s, people were paid for a lot of the jobs, and I think your dad will, from his sort of era, the Graham Warren era, that people were paid. But there was lots more people coming through the gate.
That's it. So
it's all about that, isn't it? It's all about that. Well, I believe we have come to the end of the night. We will be here next week, unless we're not. But that is the plan at this moment. We will let you know if it changes, but I don't see it doing that. Take care, everybody. Enjoy your Speedway team this year. You never know when it will be the last time.
And congratulations to Paco, this week's Ride of the Week.
Oh, well done. Superman. Bye.
Welcome to the Speedway Tavern.